Yeah, of course, but we're not arguing about what should the best outcome reading of that thing be, because I would agree. I would try to argue the strongest version
Yeah.
for the side of the
So you should be
government.
on my side.
But it's like you've given a person cancer, and now we're arguing over the outcome of treatments, and you want to do chemotherapy, and I want to do some other thing, and you're like, well, don't you hope that my treatment is the best? And I'm like, yeah, but I wish we just didn't have cancer.
Yeah.
The argument is over the initial decision.
Woke Destiny simply can't handle this ex-Democrat lawyer feeling positive about Trump's presidency in any way as Destiny debates this immigration attorney about Trump's future, and this lawyer uses Trump's last term as proof to Destiny about why he is optimistic, while Destiny is constantly trying to challenge him, as Destiny can't stand anybody saying anything good about Trump at all. So let's jump in and watch Destiny cope hard in this one.
Like, having had cancer, or I'm not, but if we did have cancer, then we would obviously hope for the best treatment, but ideally we just wouldn't have cancer. And I think this decision is cancer. And we're talking about but I'll give you the final word because and then we can do the next part, or because we need to talk about, you're optimistic
No, please.
for our criminally immune president now, for only his core powers though. Why are you optimistic? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm optimistic because there were a number of things that were on the ballot this time. And there's so many things about Trump that you could point out that are
give me top
horrible.
Sure.
And I would say, yeah.
What are your top two things on the ballot you think Trump will do good on that would have been superior to a Harris administration, I guess?
Originalism, court packing.
Okay.
I have no question.
So the originalism has nothing to do with Trump because he's not interpreting.
It has to do with what judges assuming he gets some more Supreme Court pick. It has quite a lot to do with that.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen.
And quite frankly, and this is what we're talking about on Wick's panel. And if I didn't shout him out earlier, sorry, Wick. Wick's awesome. Everyone should watch him. Court packing was like, I don't know if it was officially part of the platform, but it was pretty highly talked about on the
Democratic side. I think it's been universally that, the Democratic people have said they're not court packing. Biden, I think, explicitly said he wouldn't pack the courts.
Harris was not so clear.
I feel like I don't know if she was. I thought she said it. I know Biden said he explicitly wouldn't. I don't think court packing is on the agenda for it, even if Harris would have won. Let's say.
God, I hope not.
Okay.
But yeah, those were obviously my my top ones where I thought that he would be better. I thought he would be better on Israel, probably worse on Ukraine. I thought he would be better on the border, but probably in a way that has a lot of rough edges around it. There were a lot of things he'd be better. Now, I didn't vote for him because we talked about this earlier, he did things that were disqualifying, so I can't vote for him. But there are things that he did in his first term that if he does in his second term, and who knows, he was listening to the Federalist Society about his judge picks. And if you look at, we talked about Justice Gorsuch, we talked about Justice Barrett, he made some good picks. I hope he makes good picks again next time around.
Okay. I feel like the border stuff is kind of weak because he didn't do anything about the border last time. Foreign policy wise, is just a whole thing, I guess. There was no big legislative accomplishments on the border. He didn't change anything of substance. He got lucky that he could Title 42 his way to some decent immigration stuff, but I think his last year at the border was the highest amount of illegal crossings than any year under Obama even.
Obama was so much better on the border than Biden was. I mean, it's not comparable.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Trump. I'm just saying that on Trump's last year, it was getting bad, and then he got to switch because he couldn't rely on Title 42 anymore.
Well, I mean,
I think this is a good example of the difference between a rational, normal person, okay, he's not exactly a Trump fan, whatever, but he can still see things that Trump is either better at or can do. He can look at him objectively. But Destiny, on the other hand, he can't do none of that. He cannot stand Trump being good in any way. Destiny has to challenge him on everything. I mean, he's trying to, nitpick between Trump and Obama. Look, if you go back, there's some years that Obama was higher, some years that Trump was lower. I admit, yeah, they're pretty close, but you know what? Still, in some of those years are the lowest we've ever seen in 30 years under Trump. It was only until the end, right before, the COVID and all that stuff, that everyone started seemingly to rush for the border, which now we know, if you haven't been paying attention to USAID's information that's been dropped, our tax dollars were funding NGOs to help facilitate migration across our own border. So I wonder if for years now, when all that blew up, it's kind of like they knew it was going to happen. So they tried to get people to get across the border now, because once the election was over, it's like they knew they were going to get in somehow. And yeah, as this guy pointed out, as soon as Biden got in, it was just awful. Polar opposites of Obama. And we've had this horrible issue that we've had now. But folks, let me know in the comments what you think. Leave a like, helps the algorithm. I appreciate it. Let's get back in.
I think the thing about border policy that's fascinating is that because it's executive and because the executive has so much power over border policy, all the playing in the joints is in executive policy.
Well, but ideally, we wouldn't want it to be that way, right?
Oh, no. I mean, I think it must be. Like, the border is one of the things that is, like, within the executive purview very clearly.
In matters of national security, sure, but like, don't we want like immigration, like a good comprehensive change in our immigration policy to not have to rely on the executive? Yeah.
But you're asking two different questions now. Do we want a good policy? Absolutely. Is it primarily going to be executive driven because it's the border? Yes.
Well, we would have at least had some strengthening of the border under that Lankford bill for immigration that Trump.
So that bill, the thing about that bill, I'm going to date myself. Did you watch The West Wing?
Like one episode.
Okay. The idea that like somebody's running on something, so we're going to propose a solution, so they have to oppose it. That's like it's such a political trope that it's actually like it's in theater, right? Like it's a known thing. So what did we have? We had a really aggressively terrible border policy under Biden, and I mean aggressively terrible because my best explanation for it is that he was almost playing like the not Trump game. Like, I want to do whatever Trump did, I'm going to do the opposite of him. There's things Trump did at the border that I disagree with, but you don't need to be the polar opposite. You could be more nuanced. You could do what Obama did. In any event, then we have this bill. Obviously, Trump doesn't want the bill because it's terrible for him politically, and that played out the way it played out. But then Biden was able to control the border without the bill because it always was about executive policy.
I don't think he got as much as, I don't think through executive action, like I don't think he was able to expand the funding or the amount of like asylum judges.
No,
anything there. He was just, I think he kind of capped it a little, but I think that is being challenged now through the courts, and it's hard to know how much he can cap that indefinitely.
What I'm saying is, and I'm not saying this to advocate for what Trump did.
Sure.
But like, you can go from kids in cages to Biden's policy to Biden's current policy without any change in the law. That's the scale of executive discretion in this area. Like the executive has so much discretion to control just through soft policy.
I don't think when the asylum stuff started to become a big issue, I don't think that would have lasted for 3 years as him just like trying to cap the asylum stuff. I think there would have been.
is another.
Well, I think asylum is that's the problem. Like, I don't think right now in the U.S., I don't think for the last 4 years we've had an illegal immigration problem. We've had an asylum claim problem. That's like been the thing.
This is putting me in dangerous territory because I do pro bono work and some of it is asylum work. So yes.
Like, haven't there been like?
I'm going to just be transparent. There is obviously an asylum fraud client. Problem. None of them are my clients.
Sure.
But I think the issue is the catch and release and the combination of that, and just that you can claim asylum, and the backlog is so insane that it becomes a nightmare. I mean, actually during the first Trump administration, he did this thing where, he switched the order. So normally it's with judges, it's first in, first out, and you do the cases in order. One of his changes to the policy was he wanted to switch it. So instead of doing first in, first out, they did last in, first out. So if you had a new case, you were heard instantly. And that was his way of attempting to combat asylum fraud, because you could have the new cases heard right away. The weird side effect of this, which I don't think was intentional, but I had a client who was kind of in the middle of the pile. And as a result, he got to be in the country for
That's interesting that was changed. I guess I would have to go back and look at the rationale, because I don't think asylum claims became like a big known loophole after COVID ended.
It's gotten...
The level of claims we've gotten
the magnitude of the problem has changed, but the fact that this is an issue has been known, and that's why he instituted that change, because it did allow it allowed his administration to hear new cases faster and in theory combat fraud.
You notice when Destiny like really starts getting frazzled, he has this like violent little shake he does to his head. Like he starts spazzing out. Like you can always tell when he starts to get flustered. But I think it's really interesting the way that this guy explained that you could go from kids in cages to this, and all under executive authority. I mean, as soon as Trump won, on day one, that border was shut down, which means for the last 4 years, when Biden and Kamala, all of them have been saying, oh, the border's secure, and all these people have been going across, it was always only within their direct authority and no one else's, not Congress, not the House, no, anyone else. They could do it the whole time. I think the head of the border security down there. Remember watching the video. He said the only reason the border isn't secure is because they won't give the order. They just won't do it. So now, like he said, we have this backlog. We have all of these problems that we're dealing with because they allowed these people to come across. And if Trump tries to do anything to stop them, like Destiny still can't handle it, and he has to find some sort of excuse how he's bad. Folks, we have a huge problem with this that we are left with in the wake of Joe Biden's catastrophic presidency in the woke left. And all I can hope is moving forward, we can put America first and actually look out for our own people because we need it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below and what you thought this lawyer had to say to Woke Destiny about Trump doing anything good for Americans. Thanks for watching. Take care, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.